Hi, this is Greg Miner, and welcome to Philharmonic Studios.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Tim Corpus. I'm a composer for film, interactive media, and live performance. And recently I was invited to tour Philharmonic Studios, which is just north of Chicago, and it's an amazing facility. Many thanks to Greg for inviting me out to tour the space. It's super cool, and let's check it out.
Philharmonic Studios comprises 3 recording studios, separate from one another. They can work in tandem or separate from another. We have Studio A, which is our premiere room, Studio B, which is our Atmos mixing room, and Studio C, which is our production room.
So when did the studio open up?
The studio opened up officially in August of 2022 after a 4-year build-out process. We are in Vernon Hills, Illinois, which is about 25 miles north of Chicago. We are conveniently located about 20 minutes north of O'Hare and about a half hour north of Chicago.
So how long did it take to get this space together?
So the first 2 years of a 4-year build-out period were design and permitting, and then there was construction, and then final commissioning. So 4 years in total. It was a monumental project. This is a ground-up building, so ground-up facilities of this type are rare nowadays. But we're thrilled to be up and running and serving the public.
Yeah, and I guess what's your background? Why did you want to do a studio?
I have 25 years experience as a touring musician and record producer and engineer. I had always desired to open up my own facility, and after attempting to do it down in the city for 4 years or so, I decided to move the project out here. But that's always been the goal, to have my own facility and to bring a first-rate professional caliber facility to this area. Welcome to Studio A.
All right. I love the art on the wall too.
Thank you. So this is our premiere room, consisting of a 1,500 square foot live space, 2 isolation booths on the north end, a side address control room, and another isolation booth on the south end. We also have the ability to tailor the reverberant envelope in the room by employing the acoustics technology.
Oh yeah.
There are 4 Schoeps cardioid microphones hanging up here which pick up information, send them back to the machine room, and then bring that through 36 speakers here. So as a simple demonstration, you can hear the room is very dry now. But when employing this technology, we have the ability to tailor the environment for a number of different use case scenarios.
Wow.
We have a configuration up now for drums with a reverb time of 3 seconds. We can reduce that down to 1.9 seconds. We can adjust the amount of energy that's brought into the room. We can also mute the system back to the dry. We have different configurations for solo piano, strings, vocals, guitars and drums, hall sounds. And this gives us great flexibility when dealing with clientele that don't normally frequent recording studios because of their dry character, such as string quartets, orchestral ensembles, brass quintets, which we've done a number of in here. All of them benefiting greatly from the enhanced experience that you can get here. They're used to getting the cues that they would have in a church or a performance hall. Miking the ensemble or a individual instrument like a piano, combining close miking and distance miking, and combining them in different ratios gives you desired effects, a number of different effects depending on the case scenario. So it's a tremendous gift that we have, a great option that we've used to great effect. So over here on the north end is one of our 3 isolation booths. This is the largest booth, featuring a sliding glass partition. We've isolated pianos, drum kits, bass sections, just about everything in here. And by doing it with the sliding glass partition, we maintain clear sight lines throughout the facility of Studio A. This is number 2 of our isolation booths here. This is more dry in character. You can see that we're set up for more of a guitar overdubs session in here. It's quite a bit smaller and drier, but we've also put drum kits and upright basses. Sound really good in here.
And you've got like controls to, is that?
Yeah, so anywhere you see
data
one of
plus-
these black panels is one of the control panels that allows us to patch signals throughout Studio A, and in fact throughout the entire facility through our central machine room, which I'll show you later.
Oh, nice.
So you've got XLR inputs, you've got Cat6 inputs, video. Now you'll notice if you look at the outlets here, you've got orange outlets and white outlets. The orange outlets are for technical power, so these are where we would put all of our audio equipment and things. We have three-phase balanced power, and then the white outlets are for more standard offerings like computers, tablets, smartphones, things like that. So by keeping them separate, we get the best performance, no RFI, radio frequency interference. So we've really taken every step imaginable to make this technologically sophisticated, while always, subordinating that to creativity and inspiration.
Yeah, I mean even the smell of the room, it just smells like wood. It's such a calming space.
Yeah.
What about this piano? So what made you choose this piano?
So this is a Steingraber & Son. It is a semi-concert grand piano, 7 foot 7 inches. Semi-concert grands tend to be the first choice in recording studios. They have plenty of power, but a lot of finesse. Most of the full concert grands are too powerful for most recording studios, and given the size of the room, we thought that this was the proper size. They have the proper type of piano. Steingraber & Son is a German company that builds a small number of hand-built instruments every year. It's all done in-house. It's a beautiful sounding piano. You can see up here we have Genelec mains, which serve a multifunction. They're not only for communication with larger groups, they also serve as good for reamping and also for corporate events.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Really a fantastic sounding set. So now we're coming in here to our control room. Unlike many studios, this is a side address control room, meaning that we're looking out onto the floor from the side. What this does is it allows us to get our mains monitors into an optimal position, not only for the engineer, but also for the producer here at the producer's desk, and also anyone else who happens to be sitting in the room. This is a phase coherent, highly musical sounding room. This is a little piece by Chicago Jazz Orchestra called Road Song. It's typical of the sort of thing that we do here, big band jazz, big human, big collections of individuals sharing a moment of creativity. So this was not only a big band jazz session, but also a string section. You'll hear them coming in a little while. So this session consisted of a big band on 2 of the days. I believe it was about 20 people. And then there was 2 additional days of string overdubs. So you can see that we can handle larger sessions here. And in fact, this has been sort of our bread and butter. There's the types of ensembles that are very attracted to this place, not only because of the premium of acoustics, but because we have enough space to accommodate larger assignments. So this is an API 2448 console. It's a 40 channel, so 40 simultaneous microphone inputs. We also have additional mic pre's. We have 64 simultaneous in and out channels, so we can accommodate 64 simultaneous signals.
Was there any reason you went with an API?
Well, I've always been a fan of API. I've been using their products for over 20 years. I wanted a console that fit into the modern workflow, that required minimal maintenance, and was modular in a sense. If any of the EQs or any of the channels are malfunctioning, they can be pulled out and sent back to the manufacturer or worked on site. Well, this is another case where I've been a fan of ATC loudspeakers for as long as I can remember, and I've used them for as long as I can remember. This is a pair of ATC 150s with dual matching subs. This room was designed around these speakers. It wasn't that we built a room and we put these speakers in later. This room was designed around these speakers, and that's critical because the room and the speakers together produce the monitoring environment.
Yeah, love the diffusion in the back. It's a very comfortable room. You did say you have a lot of amazing outboard gear. Got some distressors. What are the highlights here? You got some tube tech.
So, I'm from the analog era, so, I remember back when this was the only thing available, and for me, this is still my first call option for many of the things that I do. If you look right behind you there's a analog tube, AT101, just over to your right there, a large 2-channel compressor based on the legendary Fairchild compressor. This is a hand-built point-to-point piece of audio equipment with 22 vacuum tubes in it.
Oh, damn.
It's a 2-channel unit, so we're real proud of it. Thank you to Simon at Analog Tube. If you're out there watching, this is my baby, And of course, we have the usual studio staples like Neve 1073s.
Yeah, those are the best.
Numerous Pultecs, a Neve 33609. One of the many variants, TubeTech CL1B, some retro gear, Purple Audio. We have the distressors, as you mentioned. We also have an outboard API 2500, which is similar to the compressor that's in the center section of this console, but I like to use that one, this one in the rack on subgroups and drum rooms and things like that. So, we have a large complement of analog equipment for people that desire that texture. So this is the south end of the building. This is the third of 3 isolation booths that serve our Studio A. We're set up in here for a guitar duo. You'll notice that this opens up nicely out not only to the patio that you may have seen before, but also to a nicely forested area. So this is pretty unique amongst isolation booths. It's not the it's not the cave. It's a beautiful light-filled experience here.
Yeah, and big ceilings for a small ISO booth. This is amazing.
And if you stand here, you'll notice not only can you communicate well with the engineer or also the producer or anybody else, but you can see all the way onto the floor and communicate with any of the other isolation booths. So this is very intentional. Everything we've done here is very deliberate and intentional, but we don't want anyone to know that.
And we talked about this before, but the great monitoring system you have for players.
So we have 2 main monitoring cue systems. One of them is a straight cue that takes a feed from Bryston amplifiers. It's a straight volume feed. Excellent sounding and very uncomplicated, which is good, so the artist can keep their mind on what's important, which is being creative. We also have the Hearback Pro system, which takes its feed through Cat6 cables and allows for individual control of up to 16 pieces or 16 tracks that we can send them. So that allows for maximum flexibility, and these 2 systems can be used together. We can split a signal off from this unit to power 4 of these, and we can run, up to 5 just off of these stations. So in total, we can serve from 30 to 50 musicians simultaneously.
Yeah.
Which is quite enough for most sessions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Philharmonic also features a very extensive selection of outboard equipment. Particularly from AMS Neve. We have a Neve 1081R remote microphone pre-rack here. This one contains 6 1081s and 6 Air Montserrat mic pre's, the blue ones, which happen to be my favorite for classical music applications of all types. So there's 12 channels there, and there's also 12 more channels at the other end of the room. Those are all the blue Air mic pre's, so that's 24 just in this section here. We also have a floating sidecar console, which is a 24-channel AMS Neve BCM10. This has 24 channels of 1084 microphone preamplification. Those of you who know anything about the history of the Neve mic preamplifier know how highly coveted these are for their extended high-frequency selections. I like to use this a lot as a front end for drum kits, especially in rock contexts. This is a beautiful sounding console, very near and dear to my heart, I must say. The heart and soul of a recording studio. So this is Philharmonic's central machine room, and as the name implies, this room is filled with a lot of things that contribute to the very basic functioning of the facility. We have power supplies for the API console here. We have amplifiers for various speakers around, like you've seen the Genelecs out on the main floor. These are the amplifiers that service them. I had mentioned the powered Qs. These are the two Bryston amps that service them. Here are patch and tie lines that can allow us to communicate between rooms. You can patch signals anywhere in this facility. Computers.
Got the cheese grater.
Got the cheese grater. We've got a 1/2-inch machine here, which is an excellent sounding unit made by Mara Machines. This is a 1/2-inch machine. Not only does it sound great on mix projects, but it's also a very reliable archiving machine. You know, you never know when your digital hard drives are going to not turn on or malfunction, so it's important to have an analog backup of things.
Yeah.
But you know, we're very comprehensive about backing things up. So we have multiple digital destinations and also this analog destination. So, okay, this is our Atmos mixing and multi-channel room here. For those of you who have yet to experience Atmos or immersive audio, I encourage you to do so. You can experience it through Apple Music, Tidal, or some of the other streaming services, and this is a once-in-a-generation technological change. It's a new delivery format based on the film industry. You've all experienced it in the theaters, but now it's been repurposed for music delivery. So we have a 714 system here, and 7 means the 7 on the horizontal plane. We have 4 height speakers up here, and we also have 2 subwoofers. So Philharmonic has gotten involved in the early stages of the development of this process, and we are huge fans. We see a lot of potential. So Philharmonic is a pioneer not only in Atmos mixing, but also in Atmos recording, using multi-microphone arrays for Atmos and immersive capture. So we offer our clients a full suite of deliverables, including stereo, 5.1, 7.14, binaural. Okay, this is Philharmonic Studio C. This is the third of 3 rooms. You can see there's an isolation booth here, a control room isolation booth situation here. This room is very well suited to electronic genres. It's also very well suited to voiceovers, podcasting, composition. We've had a number of different sessions in here. Singer-songwriters, done a lot of singer-songwriter work in here. One added bonus for this room is that through the Essential Machine Room, we can patch into Studio A's live room and cut tracks into this room. So that adds tremendous flexibility.
You got some nice synths in here.
Yes. Well, like I said, this room is very well suited to composition. So, you know, I've done some sound design work and also some composition in, the electronic genres. So that's another thing that I did for quite a number of years before venturing out into studio ownership.
Are these from your personal collection? Or
They are.
Oh, nice.
They are, yeah. So actually, quite a number of pieces that you've seen throughout our little tour here were, brought in from my personal collection. So, from my days as a freelance engineer. So this room is a little different in terms of its technology. We have a SSL AWS console, 24 channels. So it allows us to not only control our DAW from the console, but we can do an analog console mix if we feel the need to. And of course, that's the way that I prefer to work. And for that reason, we have a number of premium pieces over here, including some Chandler Limited things, which are the RS-124s, one of my favorite compressors. Also some more distressors and a Retro 2A3. So we have a full complement of analog equipment to complement the digital workflow here. For us, the client service experience is as important as the technical side of things, and we have a well-trained and courteous staff to make all of this a reality.
So these are some of the mics here.
Yeah, so we at Philharmonic, like I mentioned earlier, pride ourselves on having one of the premier microphone collections in the area, perhaps in the country. And I wanted to share some of my favorites with you. It's pretty hard to underestimate the importance of this particular microphone, the AEA R44. Many of you have seen this in front of singers like Frank Sinatra or Aretha Franklin. It's a ribbon microphone, bidirectional. This is a fabled storied microphone, and this is a exact reproduction, again, like I said, by AEA microphones. This is a fantastic microphone, not only on voice, but also on brass instruments. Also sounds great on pianos and even as a main pickup. This is the CX version, so it's 6 dB hotter than some of the other ones, so it can actually be used as a main pickup in a stereo configuration for jazz ensembles, even classical. It's a fantastic sounding microphone. Coming up next, we have a matched pair of Telefunken C12 microphones. So you can see these are matched capsules. This is a beautiful, elegant sounding microphone. Here is the power supply. You can see the two inputs and also the multi-pattern selector there. So you can use this as a main pickup in either a spaced pair. You can also put it into an MS configuration, which I like to use a lot on guitars mostly. Acoustic guitars sound great in MS. These also sound great on piano if you're looking kind of for that John Lennon type of sound, the one that everybody's going for. Next up, we have the Neumann U67. This is one of 5 that we possess. I think this is a reproduction, but I think this is a fantastic microphone. We've used them not only as main pickups, but also on individual instruments like brass, saxophones, voices, classical guitars. This is a beautiful reissue microphone. It's also multi-pattern with cardioid, figure 8, and omni polar patterns available. We've used this to great effect on many sessions. Thrilled with that. Last but not least is our Schoeps Deca Tree set. So this is a very rare offering. It's by German microphone maker Schoeps. You can see it consists of 3 capsules with spheres. This is used in a Deca Tree arrangement, which is very well known for its being employed on classical sessions. Those of you that have looked at any of the old classical recordings have been likely to see a Deca Tree in them. We use them in that configuration, but this is much smaller and easier to set up, much lighter. You can see here's the sphere. Here is how the microphone installs into it. So the reason for these spheres is to make up for any high frequency attenuation over distance. So this array of microphones, this Deca Tree array, is meant to be about 10 feet above the ensemble. So it needs to have good high frequency compensation, and this set does. Really, really beautiful. All of your string quartets and any sort of chamber orchestras, this is what we would employ. And it comprises about half of the finished sound. Welcome to Philharmonic's secret gear closet.
Yeah, right.
So this is where we stash a lot of our equipment. As you can see, we have numerous drum kits up here by Tama, DW, Ludwig. You can see we have many other microphones here. Here's 4 of the other U67s that we discussed. I have a number of other Neumann microphones, including 149s and 150s. All of this is our microphone cabinet here. This is a very unknown mic, except in very high fidelity circles. This is the Sanken CUX100K, which is a multi-pattern microphone from Japan. Started its life as a test microphone, but eventually found its way into the hands of audio engineers who cherish it for its extended high frequency capabilities. Actually goes up to 100 kilohertz.
Wow.
One of the only mics that can do that. So this makes it very well suited for high definition recordings. Really, we use it either as a main pickup or on instruments that can produce significant overtones like piano. This is one of our many DPA microphone sets. These are 5. This is a 5-set, a matched pair of wide cardioid DPA 4015s.
Nice.
So these, we're big fans of small diaphragm condensers because they're light, they're easy to position, they sound great, they don't require power supplies. So that makes the floor nice and tidy, which is very important when you're in a session with a lot of people.
Yeah.
There are far fewer hazards. We have some of the bread and butter microphones like the AKG 414s.
Yep.
This is another fantastic microphone, multi-pattern, phantom powered, and easy to set up, and it sounds fantastic. Has an excellent signal to noise ratio. Here we have some floating speakers that we generally employ with sometimes in situations where artists need speaker monitors on the floor instead of using headphones, so we send a feed out through these. We use this on many sessions with brass in particular, especially in jazz sessions, because they can get really loud and you just can't get the headphones loud enough so they can hear themselves. So we use these. We'll roll these out onto the floor when necessary. So it's all about being as flexible as possible and understanding client needs and coming up with solutions. Please check us out at www.philharmonic.com. You'll see a 360-degree virtual tour, equipment lists, more photos, and more information about the facility.
So thanks to Greg for letting me hang out for the day and tour the space. It's an incredible, very impressive space. I'm hoping to do some work there within the year, which is very exciting. But yeah, definitely if you're in the Midwest, check it out. It's a really nice space. So thanks for tuning in as always. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.